Welcome to today's video, a journey that not only exposes the raw truth about narcissists, but also hands you the key to escape the darkness they've woven around your life. Have you ever felt like you were trapped in a maze with no way out? A maze built from toxic words, subtle manipulation, and the inflated ego of a narcissist. Someone who believes you'll always be their puppet, never able to cut the invisible strings they've tied around you. If you're nodding yes, I want you to know you are not alone. Millions of people around the world have walked this painful path, feeling their energy drained, suffocated by confusion, and wondering if there's any hope of breaking free. But today, I'm here to share a secret with you. A secret the narcissist never wanted you to know. A secret that will flip the script and force them to pay a price they never saw coming. Lifelong regret. This isn't about revenge or fiery confrontations. No, it's something nobler, more powerful, and most importantly, completely within your reach. I'll walk you through every step, not just to reclaim control of your life, but to make the narcissist face a bitter truth. They are not as powerful as they think, and you are the one who's going to prove it. Picture this, waking up one day with a heart at peace, no longer haunted by their blame games or psychological tricks. Imagine walking with confidence, living a life of freedom, with no trace of the narcissist in your mind. That's not a far-off fantasy. It's a destination you can absolutely reach, and I'll be right here, guiding you every step of the way. So, are you ready to change the game? Let's begin, step by step, and uncover what the narcissist never saw coming. Something that will leave them filled with regret for the rest of their lives. Before we dive into the strategies for dealing with a narcissist, you need to understand who your opponent really is, not to fear them, but to realize they're not the invincible force they want you to believe they are. Think of a narcissist as a predator in human disguise, not with sharp teeth or terrifying claws, but with something far more dangerous: psychological manipulation. They don't feed on food or air, they feed on your emotional energy. Every tear you shed, every argument you engage in, every time you beg them, they all fuel their twisted, inflated ego. They don't care how much pain you're in. What matters to them is how much of that pain they can use to feel more powerful. But why? Why do they cling to you with such obsession, while on the surface they act superior, as if the whole world should bow at their feet? The answer lies in a truth they'll never admit. Deep down, they are hollow, a dark void filled with insecurity and emptiness. You and I, we can find our worth in love, in work, in the quiet beauty of life's small moments, but a narcissist can't. They lack the ability to validate their own worth without using someone else. Their ego is a castle built on sand, grand on the outside, but hollow and ready to collapse from within. And you, with your empathy, your sensitivity, your genuine emotions, you are the cement holding that fragile castle together. Imagine this: every time you react to them, a frown when you're insulted, a defense when you're blamed, a weary sigh, they feel like they've just won a gold medal. They think, I still have control. I'm still the center of this person's universe. But here's what they don't realize. They're not strong at all. They depend on you more than you think. You are not a weak target in their game. You are their lifeline. And once you understand that, you'll see them for what they really are. Not unbeatable predators, but parasites feeding on the emotional generosity you've been giving away without realizing it. And that dependency, that is their greatest weakness, and we're going to use it to flip the script, not through head-on confrontation, but by quietly and steadily taking back what they need most, the power they think they've stolen from you. 1. The power of silence. Now that you understand who the narcissist is and why they act that way, let's move into the first strategy, one that may seem simple but holds tremendous power: silence. No, I'm not talking about sitting quietly like someone timid or weak. This is a different kind of silence, a powerful silence, an intentional silence, a silence that forces the narcissist to face their worst nightmare, losing the control they've built in your mind. To think of the narcissist as a spoiled child in a toy store. They scream, they cry, they do everything to get attention, not because they need the toy, but because they need you to look at them, need you to react, need you to acknowledge that they matter. Every time you argue with them, every time you try to explain or apologize, you're giving them a priceless gift, confirmation that they still have power in your life. They live on attention, whether positive or negative, because without it, they don't know who they are. They can't stand the thought that you might be indifferent to them, that you might live without needing them. But what happens if you stop giving them what they crave most? What happens if you turn your back, say nothing, don't even look and leave no sign that you're being affected by them? That is the power of silence. Imagine you're standing in front of a narcissist who's trying to yell in your face, trying to pull you into an argument, but you don't respond. You don't frown, you don't sigh, you don't even look at them. You're just silent, calm, as if they don't exist. What happens then? They panic. They don't know what to do when they can no longer see you dancing to their tune. Do you remember the times they used silence to punish you? The days they disappeared without a word, didn't answer your messages, didn't return your calls, all just to make you anxious, make you chase after them, make you feel like you couldn't live without them. That's their favorite weapon, turning silence into a tool of manipulation, making you feel insecure, small and dependent. But now it's time to flip the script. When you go silent on them, don't respond to provocations, don't react to their mind games, don't let them pull you into their drama. You turn silence into your own weapon. They will be confused. They can't read you anymore. They can't guess what you're thinking or what you'll do next. Are you silently planning to leave? Are you preparing to expose who they really are? Are you quietly laughing because you've realized they no longer matter? That uncertainty is what drives them crazy. They used to believe that you would always be the one reacting, always the one chasing after them to apologize or explain. But when you go silent, you don't just take away their power. You force them to face a truth they've always tried to bury, that they are not strong, not powerful, not as special as they thought. And here's the most beautiful part about silence. It's not just a shield that protects you from their toxic arrows. It's a mirror that forces them to look at themselves. When you stop reacting, they have no one left to blame, no one to manipulate, no one to use as a shield for the emptiness inside them. They're left alone with the harsh truth that all their arrogance is just a mask, that they can't live without the attention of others, especially yours. But I want you to remember one important thing. This silence is not meant to hurt them or to play a game of revenge. That's not our purpose. You don't have to lower yourself to their level. Don't need to turn silence into a cold war to see who can hold out longer. That's the narcissist's way, based on ego and manipulation. You are different. You are someone with a big heart, a noble soul, and you don't have to lose your essence to win. Instead, use silence as a way to set yourself free. When you go silent, you create space to breathe, to heal, to reclaim the peace they once stole. You're not doing this for them, you're doing this for yourself, because you deserve a life that isn't ruled by their psychological games. 2. Cold as ice. Once you've mastered the power of silence, it's time to move on to the next strategy, a technique that enhances and upgrades your self-defense, becoming cold as ice. It might sound like a harsh and heartless piece of advice, but let me explain. This isn't about losing your warm heart or kind nature. It's the art of emotional mastery, transforming your emotions into a sacred treasure that a narcissist can never reach, and in doing so, cutting off the fuel they need to keep manipulating. Think of your emotions as an invaluable resource, not gold, not diamonds, but something even more precious, your soul's energy. Have you ever stopped to reflect on the value of those emotions? They're the result of all the years you've lived, the joy you've felt, the pain you've endured, the sleepless nights you've spent wrestling with your own story. They've cost you tears, time, and invisible scars. So why would you allow a narcissist, someone who never truly valued you, to mine that emotional gold freely? Why let them turn your precious feelings into fuel for their hollow ego? Every time you get angry at them, every time you argue or try to explain yourself, what are you doing? You're opening the door to your soul and saying, "Here, take this, use it to feel powerful." You're handing them a blank check to drain your emotional bank account while they couldn't care less about what's left of you afterward. They don't see your pain. They only see their win. Every reaction you give is a shot of dopamine for their ego, a confirmation that they still own you, that you're still their compliant prey. But what happens if you lock that door? What if you say, "No, you don't get one more drop of my energy"? That's the power of being cold as ice. When you stop reacting, when you don't argue when they provoke you, don't cry when they hurt you, don't beg when they try to break you, you cut off the fuel they depend on to survive. Imagine the narcissist as a sleek sports car that always needs gas to keep running. You are their gas station. But when you shut it down, when you refuse to fuel them anymore, that car stalls out on the side of the road, powerless and confused. This isn't about becoming numb or rude. Understand that being cold in this context doesn't mean losing your empathy or compassion. Those are the beautiful qualities that make you human. Instead, it's how you protect yourself. It's how you tell yourself that your emotions are sacred, that they are not to be trampled or exploited. When you keep your emotions to yourself, you're not only taking back power from the narcissist, you're reclaiming your right to decide who deserves access to your inner world. Picture a real-life moment. The narcissist stands in front of you, hurling insults, trying to trigger your rage. Normally, you'd react. Maybe you'd scream, try to defend yourself, maybe even cry. But this time you do something different. You take a deep breath, keep your face calm, and say nothing. You look at them, not with anger, not with fear, but with cold indifference. And then you walk away. What happens? They are thrown off. They don't know what to do without your emotional response. They always thought you'd react, that you'd always be a steady source of emotional fuel. But when you become cold, you don't just leave them powerless. You take back control of your life. And here's what makes this strategy so powerful. It doesn't require you to fight or engage them directly. You don't have to lower yourself to their level or play their toxic games. Instead, you protect your peace by refusing to be part of the drama they create. The narcissist never sees this coming. They can't fathom that you could be strong enough to stop giving them what they crave the most. And when they finally realize it, when they see you standing firm like an unbreakable block of ice, they begin to feel the true cost of their arrogance. 3. Create distance. With silence and emotional coldness now part of your arsenal, you've built a solid foundation for protecting yourself. But we're not stopping there. The next strategy will elevate your self-defense to a whole new level, creating distance. This isn't just about staying safe. It's about completely reshaping how the narcissist interacts with you, forcing them to play by your rules instead of the other way around. Think of the narcissist like a giant pendulum, sometimes so sweet it makes you question whether you misunderstood them, other times so aggressive it leaves you shaken. This swing isn't random, it's a calculated tactic to keep you off balance. When they shower you with flattery, they're laying out a honey trap, reeling you back in to make it easier to manipulate you. When they attack with rage, insults, or control, they're testing how much you'll tolerate, how far you'll bend. Both extremes serve one goal: to keep you under their heel, always guessing what they'll do next. But what happens when you stop letting that pendulum swing freely? What happens when you force it to rest in a neutral space, neither overly sweet nor overly aggressive? That's the power of creating distance. When you step back, not just physically by limiting contact, but also mentally and emotionally by refusing to get pulled into their chaos, you start to see the bigger picture. You're no longer being tossed around by the emotional waves they create. Instead, you stand in a safe space, observing from a distance, like a scientist studying a dangerous creature through reinforced glass. And from that position, you do something the narcissist never expects. You establish firm, unshakable, non-negotiable boundaries. I'm talking about red lines they're not allowed to cross, the rules you create to protect your peace and self-respect. No tolerance for disrespect in any form. No cruel words, no controlling behavior, no mind games. When they try to pour on the charm, when they whisper sweet nothings to lure you back in, gently push them away. Don't get caught in their honey trap. When they turn aggressive, when they try to intimidate or hurt you, stand firm like a mountain, unmoved, and walk away. Show them you're not someone they can dump on or walk over. Picture a real-life scenario. The narcissist calls you up, starting with flattery. I can't live without you. You're the most amazing person I've ever met. Normally, your heart might soften. You might wonder if they've really changed. But this time, you know better. You reply calmly, "Thanks, but I need space," and hang up. Then, when they don't get the reaction they wanted, they flip. You're so selfish. You only care about yourself. Instead of arguing or apologizing, you simply say, "I don't accept this kind of talk," and you leave. What happens? They're stuck. They can't use charm to reel you in, and they can't use rage to dominate you. What does this strategy do? It forces the narcissist into a neutral zone, a space where they can't rely on their usual tricks. They can't seduce you into staying close, and they can't bully you into submission. They're left with no choice but to treat you with respect, or at least pretend to, because the old games no longer work. And here's the key. You don't have to change who they are, because we both know changing a narcissist is almost impossible. But you can change how they treat you by changing how you respond to them. You don't have to stay stuck in a stormy, drama-filled relationship. You deserve peace, respect, and fairness. Creating distance isn't just about protecting yourself, it's about reshaping the relationship on your terms. You're no longer the puppet jerked around by their emotional swings. You hold the strings now. You keep them within the limits you set, and when they realize they can't break those limits, when they see that you're no longer their easy target, they start to feel the cost of their arrogance, a price they never thought they'd have to pay. 4. Cut off completely. Now that you've mastered silence, emotional coldness, and the ability to create distance, you hold in your hands 3 powerful tools to protect yourself from the narcissist. But to truly escape the shadow they've cast over your life, there is one final step, and I believe it's the most important of all: cutting off all contact completely. This isn't an easy decision, but it is the ultimate act of liberation. It's how you declare that you no longer belong to them, that you deserve a life unchained from their toxic grip. I know what you might be thinking, but what if the narcissist is a family member? What if it's my parent, my sibling, even my own child? How can I cut off someone who's such a permanent part of my life? That's a completely valid question, and I won't pretend it's a simple choice. Cutting ties with someone you once loved, someone you were deeply bonded to, someone you hoped would change, that's one of the hardest things a person can do. But hear me out. Narcissists, no matter their role in your life, share one common trait: they rarely change. Their arrogance, their lack of empathy, and their manipulative habits don't just disappear after one heartfelt conversation or a brief moment of remorse. Think back to all the times you tried to fix things. How often did you hope that if you just had more patience, if you loved them harder, if you gave them one more chance, they would finally change? And what happened? Maybe they apologized for a moment. Maybe they acted like they regretted everything, long enough to pull you back in. But then what? They return to their old games, insults, control, making you feel like you're never enough. Every time you keep the door open, you put yourself back into the endless cycle of pain, disappointment, and manipulation. You cannot heal while still standing in their emotional battlefield. You cannot move forward if they still have invisible strings tying you to your past. Cutting off completely is how you sever those strings. Not out of anger or hatred, but out of self-love and courage. Think of it as shutting every door they could use to re-enter your life. Block them on every platform, not just Instagram, Facebook, or Snapchat, but even the smaller, sneakier avenues like email, phone numbers, payment apps, and shared accounts. Leave no crack in the wall, because narcissists are experts at slipping back in, even when you think they're gone for good. Imagine a real-world example. After you've started creating distance, the narcissist sends you a long, emotional message. "I know I messed up. I can't live without you. Just give me one more chance." In the past, your heart might have softened. You might have responded, hoping to finally fix things, but not this time. This time you don't reply. You block the number, you delete the message without finishing it. Then, when they try another route, maybe email, maybe a mutual friend, you're ready. You shut it down, every channel is closed. There's no way back in. What happens when you cut them off completely? At first, there will be a void. I won't lie to you. You may question if you did the right thing. You might feel guilty, especially if the narcissist is family. You might wonder if they're hurting, if they're manipulating others now, if they miss you. But then something miraculous begins to happen. Relief. You realize you're not obsessing over them anymore. You're not living in fear of what they'll say or do next. You're no longer bracing for their sudden appearance, ready to destroy the peace you just started to rebuild. You begin to breathe again, live again, and find yourself again, the version of you that got lost while living under their control. And here's what makes this strategy so powerful. The narcissist never sees it coming. They thought you'd always chase them, that you'd never be able to live without them, that you'd come running back every time they snapped their fingers. But when you cut off all contact, you don't just reclaim your life, you send a message loud and clear. They no longer matter. They are no longer the center of your universe. They no longer define your worth. And the regret they feel, it's not because they loved you or miss you. It's because they lost a valuable supply they can't replace. You didn't do this to hurt them. You did it to free yourself, to declare once and for all that you are worthy of a life untouched by their manipulation. 5. Never apologize. Once you've cut off contact and built a wall of protection around yourself, there's one critical principle you must engrave into your mind. Something that will keep you from ever falling back into the narcissist's grip, whether it's them or someone else in the future. Never lower your worth by apologizing to them. This is one of the most subtle and deceptive tactics narcissists use to regain control. And if you don't recognize it, you may unknowingly hand your power right back, even after fighting so hard to break free. Think back to the times you said, "I'm sorry" to them, not because you did something wrong, but because they made you feel like everything was your fault. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where a small disagreement turned into a full-blown drama, where suddenly you were the villain and they were the poor, misunderstood victim? Have you ever felt the injustice of it all, knowing the truth was being twisted, yet still swallowed your pride and said, "I'm sorry," just to keep the peace, just to avoid a bigger blow-up? That's exactly how the narcissist operates. They are masters at bending reality, making you doubt yourself, making you think maybe you were the problem, maybe you were too sensitive, maybe you needed their forgiveness to feel okay again. But here's the truth you need to hold close to your heart, something I want you to remember deeply. You were not the problem. You weren't the manipulator. You weren't the one lacking empathy. You weren't the one intentionally causing harm. You were the target of their mind games. A game designed to shrink you, to make you dependent, to make you believe your worth lived in their hands. When they demand an apology, they're not seeking control or honesty. They're seeking control. They want you to bow so they can stand taller, so they can feel victorious while you're left feeling small. Imagine a specific situation. The narcissist blames you for something they clearly did. Maybe they broke a promise, maybe they embarrassed you in front of others. When you call it out, they fire back. "Why do you always make everything a big deal? Don't you see I'm trying? You're so selfish." And instead of owning up to their actions, they flip the script, make you question yourself. "Maybe I overreacted, maybe I misunderstood." Before you know it, you're saying, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have reacted like that. What just happened?" You handed them a win they didn't deserve. A win built on manipulation and your own self-doubt. So what should you do? Stand in your worth? Don't apologize for things you didn't do wrong. Don't let them drag you down with baseless accusations and emotional manipulation. Instead, stand tall, keep your face calm, and say nothing. The silence we spoke about earlier. When they demand an apology, look them in the eye, say nothing, and walk away. That act doesn't just protect you from their games, it sends a powerful message. You know your worth. You don't need their approval to feel whole. You are not someone they can guilt trip, break down, or control. Your value does not lie in what the narcissist thinks of you. It's not dependent on their forgiveness, their validation, or their acceptance. Your value is inherent. It's the light within you, the strength you carried through your hardest days, the compassion you offer to yourself and to others. When you refuse to apologize, you're not being arrogant, you're honoring your dignity. You're reminding yourself that you deserve relationships that lift you up, respect you, and love you genuinely. You never need to bow to a narcissist to feel worthy. You already are, and nothing they say or do can ever take that from you. 6. Live happily. And now we arrive at the final piece, the most important one, the one the narcissist never sees coming and the one that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Living a happy life without them. This isn't just a strategy, it's your ultimate victory. It's how you prove that you don't need them to feel whole, to feel strong, to feel worthy. This is the final blow, not delivered in anger or revenge, but in joy, freedom, and the quiet power of your inner light. Picture this. After cutting off all contact, after reclaiming your emotions and standing firm in your worth, you begin to build a new life, a life that truly belongs to you. You surround yourself with people who genuinely love you, authentic friends, trustworthy family, people with no hidden agendas or selfish motives. You do the things that make your heart come alive, traveling to the places you've always dreamed of, reading books that make you laugh and cry, sitting by a window with a warm cup of tea listening to the rain. You're no longer living to please the narcissist. You're no longer a supporting character in their twisted narrative. You are the main character of your own story, a story you now write, and where you choose the ending. Every step you take is a declaration, I am enough. Every smile you wear is proof that you don't need them to be happy. Every moment you enjoy, whether it's a quiet morning alone or a lively night with friends, is a reminder that your life has meaning not because of the narcissist, but in spite of them. You're no longer bound by their guilt trips, their manipulation, or the doubts they once planted in your mind. You are free not just from them, but from the scars they left behind. And what happens when the narcissist sees this? They can't handle it. Imagine them hearing, maybe through a mutual friend, maybe from a photo someone shows them, that you're thriving. They see you glowing, confident, surrounded by love. What runs through their mind? They once believed you'd fall apart without them. They were sure you'd come crawling back, begging them to return. They were convinced you needed them to feel valuable, to feel alive. But when they see you, stronger than ever, more independent than ever, happier than ever, they realize just how wrong they were. They see that not only did you survive, you grew beyond anything they imagined. They realize you don't need them. And that is a direct hit to their inflated ego. Their regret doesn't come from love or longing, because we both know narcissists aren't capable of true love. Their regret comes from losing something they can never replace. You. You, the endless source of emotional supply. You, the mirror that once reflected their fake identity. Now picture them alone, thinking about you. Not with sincere sorrow, but with the bitter sting of a loser. They ask themselves, how can this person be so happy without me? How are they thriving when I'm no longer in the picture? They can't accept that you've moved on, that you've broken free from the toxic cycle they created, that you've found a light they'll never touch. And with every passing day, whether through stories they hear or the torment of their own imagination, they feel the cost of their arrogance. They regret not losing a partner or a friend, but losing the power they thought they'd always have over you. But here's the most beautiful part. The reason this strategy is the pinnacle of your freedom: you don't live happily to make them jealous. You don't do this to prove anything to them. You don't need to look back and say, look at me, I'm better off without you. No, you live happily for yourself. Because you deserve joy. Because you deserve freedom, because you deserve a life no longer shackled to their toxicity. Every smile you wear, every decision you make in pursuit of your happiness is a gift you give yourself, not them. And when you live this way, You don't just defeat them, you overcome yourself. You rise above the pain they caused, the doubt they planted, the days you thought you'd never recover. You become the strongest, most radiant version of you, not to make them regret losing you, but to remind yourself that you've always been worthy of this. The narcissist may regret it for the rest of their life, but that's no longer your concern. Your purpose now is to live, to truly live, to live fully, to live for you. We've walked a long and deeply meaningful journey together today, from understanding the true nature of the narcissist to equipping you with powerful tools like silence, emotional detachment, and distance to protect yourself, from cutting off contact to liberate your soul, to standing firm in your worth and living a joyful life to reclaim your power. But all of this leads us to one undeniable truth, a truth the narcissist never expected, and one that will haunt them for the rest of their life. You can rise, you can break the toxic cycle they built around you, and you can live a life where they no longer have a place. They never thought you were strong enough to do that. They never imagined that you could cut them out, heal the wounds they left, and find joy and wholeness without them. They believed you would always be their puppet, their endless emotional supply to feed their fractured ego. But when you rise, when you reclaim your control, when you shine in your own light, they realize they were wrong, and their regret, the kind that lingers a lifetime, doesn't come from love or loss. It comes from knowing they lost someone truly irreplaceable, you, stronger, freer, and happier than ever before. But here's the most important thing I want you to take from this video. You didn't do any of this for them. You didn't go silent, go cold, cut them off, or build a joyful life to make them suffer or to prove anything to them. You did it for you, because you deserve a life free from manipulation, because you deserve the peace they once stole from you, because you deserve the joy they tried to extinguish. This is not a story about defeating the narcissist. This is a story about finding yourself again, about rising from the ashes they left behind and building a life more vibrant and powerful than ever before. If this video touched your heart, if it gave you even the smallest spark of hope, a new perspective, or a little strength to change your life, I ask just one thing. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Narcissistic abuse is real. It can feel like a trap you'll never escape. But it's not the end of your story. You have the power to write the next chapter, one filled with light, with freedom, with joy. I believe you will. And I hope to walk alongside you in future videos as we continue to rediscover who we are, heal our deepest wounds, and build the life we've always deserved. Thank you for being here today. Always remember this: you are not just enough. You are a miracle. You are not just strong. You are an unstoppable flame. And you are not just worthy of happiness. You are worthy of the entire world. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, walk forward with confidence, because everything you need to win is already inside you. Not to defeat the narcissist, but to overcome every limitation they ever tried to place on your soul. You've got this. I believe in you.